it is remarkable, isn't it, that this should be a priest. I mean, there's no other way to look at it than some kind of way of signalling support for Father James Martin's ministry, because there are hundreds of thousands of Catholic priests. He's not a bishop, he's not a cardinal, and yet he's picked out this single American priest who is known for this outreach to the LGBT, so-called LGBT plus community. I don't like the term. I don't like to reduce people to that label. Neither should we. But so he's given the forward to this book. He's had a meeting with him when he didn't meet with Cardinal Zen for half an hour when he came over to Rome. And so these are all pointers, aren't they? And this is what we said before about Pope Francis is people will say, well, you can't get him on anything because look, this is orthodox and he hasn't undermined church teaching. But it's also the subtle moves of who he puts where and who he elevates and what they stand for. And that does tell us something about what he wants to promote. And so this association with Father James Martin, with this book, which we're not saying has anything to do with LGBT, but again, it's about what Father James Martin is quite clearly known for. And it's not just that, is it, Gavin? Then in just a week after, or 2 weeks after these comments that were so offensive, he responded to a gay man who wrote to him off the back of that, saying how hurtful it was to hear because he had been rejected from seminary for his same-sex attraction. And what was that response like? And what do you make of that, Gavin?
It seems to me that one of the things the Pope wants to do is to outmaneuver or shock people, almost more than anything else. What do we know about the hierarchy of his beliefs in his head? Well, from what he said to this poor man who was rejected, the greatest sin for him is not a sexual sin, it's clericalism. He hates clericalism, but because he doesn't define what it is. And the difficulty is that I think there is a form of clericalism that should be despised, a form of over-scrupulous, religious, superior snobbery. And I've seen it in some clergy, both Catholic and otherwise, and in one sense, I'm sympathetic, but I'm not sure it's what he means by clericalism, because the traditionalist part of the church is full of some very eminent priests who live really holy lives. And I don't think he can tell the difference between holiness and snobbery, because if he could, he'd make a distinction between them. So we know that he has this very odd idea about clericalism. We also know that he has some very strange and conflicted, ambiguous beliefs about sexuality. It's very hard to know what he thinks a faggot is. Now, it's not a word I would use. It's a rather vulgar piece of slang, and I don't think it's very respectful. On the other hand, I don't think it's respectful to call yourself a gay Christian. But we don't respond with it. But it looks like the question is, who on earth does Pope Francis think a faggot is? It's all clear to us. So once again, we have ambiguity, confusion, and this sense. I have been driven back to Carl Gustav Jung for a long time, but Pope Francis has driven me back. The more and more I think of it, the more he seems to me to resemble a form of Jungian archetype, the trickster. And he just likes tricking people, sidestepping people. I think it's probably a cultural and political reflex he picked up as a Peronist in South America, but it seems he wants to surprise and shock more than he wants to give the lead that we require from the chair of St. Peter.